Hey, this is Aaron,
And this is Kristin.
and this is the Drive Mode Show.
Aaron, I've got something special to talk about today.
It's British.
It's British, and it's beautiful, and it gets lots of looks when I drive down the street. Do you know what it is?
It's going to be handmade, and James Bond.
Very. I've got the Aston Martin Vantage, and regarding your James Bond reference, this particular one I'm driving has a $10,600 paint add-on for the Q colored silver. Right?
Probably a really popular color, I would assume.
It is.
So for people that don't know, the Vantage, the background for it is the Vantage is a direct descendant of the DB5 that was in the movies. So it is the Aston Martin's evolution forward, and it's appeared in, I forget which one of the latest ones with Daniel Craig. So it was in one of those.
All of them. Yeah, it's definitely James Bond worthy. It's got so much personality. I mean, really, I went to a coffee shop the other day, and I was driving up toward the coffee shop, and I saw these two college kids sitting at a table, and they were kind of looking, they were taking pictures, trying to be cool still. So
Yeah.
I pulled past them, and then I parked it, and I went up to the table. I said, "Hey, come on, you want to come sit in it?" And they're like, "Yes." Those very, they're pretty rare to see.
Yeah.
Aston Martin. They don't sell that many because it's such a handmade process.
Right. Well, they're largely handmade, so they're not totally handmade, but a lot of things, especially in the body work, are done by hand. It's literally a dude with a hammer smacking on it and a lady with a shaper. You know, that's how they're made, because some of those forms you can't make a die for it, because of the specific shape, and then also the artistry. Every single one of them is a unique vehicle compared to even its siblings, because it's handmade. So they're beautiful cars, but I didn't get to drive it. I need to move to Austin. Apparently, I used to need to be there. They don't bring Aston Martins to Wyoming.
Yeah. Well, not during snow season anyway. I was talking to the PR rep yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about the engine because it's got a 4-liter twin turbo V8. It sounds like a truck, and it's a Mercedes engine. So it's based on Mercedes engine, but it's been retuned completely for the Aston Martin, and it saves them a lot of development costs. And the same goes for their electrical system, because I was asking them, why is this infotainment so, I didn't want to say behind, or it's more analog than we're used to, right? Seeing all the new cars. So the deal is, their deal with Mercedes is that all the vehicles before now have had the previous generation infotainment system. So it has the knob and the the touchpad, but
Okay.
infotainment is not a touchscreen. It's not in color. It's very...
Okay. So they're using the Mercedes command system. So the older, now it's MBUX.
Right.
Okay. So this was the V8 powered, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't a V12S. It was the, for lack of a better term, more common every day.
Sure. You don't drive a $200,000 car every day.
So what's the power output and torque for that engine? Do you know?
Yeah,
For those wondering, the starting price for the Aston Martin Vantage is $142,000. So $142,000. Yes, you're right. 503 horsepower. That's American number. And it's the Mercedes AMG V8. So it's the same engine that you'll find in a couple of their SUVs, as well as any of the 63 models. So any of the AMG models with a 63 on them.
Right.
So what about interior? So one of the things that happens is you have a beautiful sports car. It's really nice. Everything about it is great. Everybody's looking at it. Everybody wants to see it. And then you sit inside it and you're like, hello, I actually needed seat cushion.
No, well, their seats are very comfortable. It's beautifully done inside. I mean, it's got that hand stitched look, lots of leather, and I'm trying to think of all the different amenities that it has, because it has a fair amount of amenities. It's very comfortable, and this has, of course, the convertible top. So it's a quick push of the button. It unlatches, folds it down, and it has so much better visibility when that top is down. When the top is up, you've got this big blind spot right here and right here, where the cover is covering it up. But when it's down, the visibility is wide open.
So my experience says that is true of every convertible ever made. When you have the top up, so when you have the top up, visibility is terrible, because with any kind of convertible top, whether it be hard or soft, you're always going to have thick pillars in the back because of the way they have to be designed. To have all the machinery that actually allows it to fold. And so that's true from everything from a Mazda Miata all the way to this Aston Martin. It was true of the McLaren I drove. It's true of the Corvette. It's true of all of them. But, so you said that the seats were comfortable. What about just the look, like the layout and refinement on that interior?
Well, the way they've got the gear shifting is buttons, right? So you've got park, reverse, neutral. I'm thinking of the way it's set up here, but it's got this nice like upside down V here with all your controls, and then it's got the touchpad here. And then, I mean, it's got very small storage space. So one of the things that was challenged are the cup holders are tiny. Like you can fit a water bottle in it, like a regular plastic water bottle in there, but not a Yeti cup or hardly anything, because it's very small. It's almost like they decided, oh, we need cup holders in there. We better squeeze them in, and there's a little bit of a storage space here behind the cup holders. And then there's one right here behind you and next to you. There's a little slot that comes open.
Okay. Sort of like the Alfa Romeo 4C. There's like you open the hood, which is actually the bonnet over the back. You open that and you look in and you see the single concession to, oh yeah, we're going to sell this in the US. And they have this tiny, tiny little air conditioner compressor. So I noticed that same thing in the McLaren. So I think it's a British thing. I don't think the Britons have discovered the big gulp. So they don't have, the British just haven't discovered the big gulp. So they don't have cup holders to accommodate any of that.
I think that's a European thing,
I think it kind of is. The British also are pioneers of the push button system. So it was made famous here by AMC, but really push button as a shifting option has been used fairly prolifically in the UK and is still used now in everything but a track-ready car, which will have a paddle. Now Honda's doing it, and we're seeing more and more of it again. And it's a weird thing because I don't understand how the buttons are making things better. They take up as much space as a physical shifter, but they're less complex. There's less to break with a button because you don't have any manual movement happening. So you don't, it's a spring. That's all you have in there. uh, and then
Can't shift in anger, like throw it into gear.
You can't like pull on it like you're gonna go faster now because you pulled on it. So it used to be back in the day, most vehicles, when you pull the shifter all the way back, you ended up in manual mode, right? So it forced the gear, and and you felt like you were going faster because now you can run the RPMs to 5,000 and peg the engine.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were talking a little bit about the electrification system that Mercedes-Benz provides. There is not Apple CarPlay on the Vantage or Android, neither. So
wow.
rely on your phone separately. It does have the USB ports inside the storage compartment, the little one that's right here next to you. You have to kind of look around and see them. They're back in there.
Interesting. That might just be a product of how small the car is, beyond the Apple CarPlay Android Auto thing.
Right.
I don't know how popular those apps are overseas. I get questions on those things on some of the articles or videos that I do, and they're almost always from Europeans asking about it. And I think it's just because in Europe, they probably just don't use them, which I don't understand why, because if I lived there, I've seen their maps. I would have to Google everything. I have no idea where anything is because, the roads just kind of.
Yeah, and the streets are packed. I'm just thinking about driving
around without turn-by-turn instructions.
Yeah. It's been quite a while since I've been to Brussels, but when you're merging on, I think that merging on vehicles have the right of way and not the straight. So you always looking out for who's coming in. It's wild. So really wonderful experience to drive the Aston Martin. It just feels like you're in something special.
So how fast did you go?
I'll never.
Won't tell. How loud was the stereo then?
It's up to speed really quickly.
Yes.
I mean, really quickly. It's and I love it. Even my neighbors noticed. Like the other night, it was supposed to hail, and my neighbor texted me and she said, "You might want to put the car away." Like she's never done that with any other car. People notice Aston Martin. It has such an aura about it. It's really something special. It's a special company. I hate to see that they've struggled financially in the last couple of years, especially, but I'm hoping that they're going to make it.
Mm-hmm. It's a company that they've often struggled. And that's kind of the story of British auto manufacturing, regardless. But also just it's a company that started out where there was a guy who wanted to race cars, and his excuse for racing them was, "I'm going to make cars." McLaren did the same thing. A lot of companies have done the same thing. So he made high-end cars so he could go racing. And then that is a formula for success for a short time. and then those profit margins start to whittle really quickly. And so, yeah, like I said, it's the story of British automotive. So, but it's also, these companies don't tend to die. They tend to get some sort of investment. They tend to get something that happens right at the right time. Sometimes it's the right car. They just happen to hit the right nail with their car, and their hammer went straight, and boom, it took off.
Yeah, well, I think that the DBX is a game changer for Aston Martin. They're expecting for sales of the DBX to make up 40 to 60% of their total sales.
Yeah.
And you saw the same thing with Lamborghini and the Urus. The Urus is more than half of their sales, I think, now. And that really rides the trend of what people are wanting to drive. And it allows you to have that performance, but in a family car.
Well, it's like Jaguar wouldn't exist as a vehicle or a company probably if they didn't have Land Rover, because the Land Rover is what sells, whereas the Jaguar cars, not so much. They're not bad cars. They're just sell in comparison, as far as market percentage goes. So, the Land Rover kind of carries it. That's true of everybody. Porsche has an SUV now, a couple of them. Everybody, it's sign of the times. It has to happen.
Even Ferrari, the Puro Sangue, which we covered in another show, and I haven't seen it yet, but we're waiting.
You haven't seen the show?
We haven't seen the Sangue. I haven't heard anything about it, so it's going to be interesting to see when that comes out. They could have been holding it with the pandemic, but maybe they're just waiting for the right time.
Probably. So, Aston Martin Vantage. You giving it a thumbs up?
I'm giving it a thumbs up. Yeah, there's really nothing like driving an Aston Martin. It is a unique and wonderful experience.
I'm jealous. All right, this is Aaron.
And this is Kristin.
This is the Drive Mode Show. Hit subscribe.